Of the tourists covered in oil, strumming my sixth string on a five-board swing. Smell those shrimp, they're beginning to boil. Wasted away again in Margaritaville, searching for my lost shaker and salt. Some people claim that there's a woman to blame, but I know that it's nobody's fault. Hello, Mr. Larry. How you doing, buddy?
Excellent choice of music. Thank you.
Oh, you can't go wrong with Jimmy Buffett.
Well, good to see you.
Oh, it's great to see you. I'm going to jump into an intro and we're going to get going. Guys, welcome to The Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Mirshahzadeh, and boy, do we have a special guest today in my friend, Larry Jacobson. I'm so happy to have you here with me. Thank you for joining me.
So great to be here.
Guys, so look, we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping, then we'll jump right into it. Guys, the format of the show is quite simple. We're the Greatness Machine, and we are bringing together change makers who have lived their passions to create greatness in the world. And my friend Larry, we go way back. He doesn't know this yet, but the event that we did together was the inspiration for this show. So I don't know if you know that, Larry, but I did a TEDx event, TEDx Golden Gate Park in 2012. We met in 2011, and Larry prepped like a maniac to be a part of the show. Did an amazing TED Talk, and that was actually the inspiration for the Greatness Machine. So that was a one-day event, and here we are now, my friend.
Hey, that launched me too. It launched my speaking career, and it was fantastic.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, guys. A couple of things. First of all, we are live streaming, so if you're watching, share it. Share this. Start a watch party. Just go down to the share button, click start a watch party. What that does is it helps other people to see and learn from this great event. And, I've actually gotten to hear Larry speak before. You're going to want to do that and share the wealth with all your friends and family so they can hear all the wonderful things that Larry and I are going to be talking about. Number two, ask questions. I have my team on standby on live chat. Just drop a question in the chat box of where the watch party is or where you see the videos for the live stream, and they'll shoot those questions over to us. Without further ado, like I said, we have a very special guest, and I do feel so lucky to have my friend Larry Jacobson here. A little bit about Larry. First of all, I'm just going to start with, sometimes you save the best for last. I'm going to start with the best. Like, what interested me in having Mr. Jacobson here speak at my TEDx event was he had spent 6 years circumnavigating the globe in his sailboat, literally sailing around the world for 6 years. And I was like, I have no other language except really bad language. That is fucking amazing. And I was like, this is really cool. And he had just written his book, and we'll talk about that. The name of the book was The Boy Behind the Gate, and it was coming out, and he was promoting the book. And I was like, and this guy is just like getting after it. And it was just really impressive. And if you can imagine, when you're curating a TEDx event, it's a 1-year project. Okay. It's a lot. It's a ton of work. And you don't make any money or anything like that. You're doing it because for the love of spreading knowledge and for teaching people. And the same is true for the speakers. There's a ton of work for them, and they're not getting paid to do it. They're doing it because they want to be a part of something cool. So we met under very interesting circumstances through that event. But a couple other things about Larry: certified dream coach, specializing in helping people make their dreams come true. He's the creator of the CERC, Certified Experienced Retirement Coach, and just an amazing guy. He's written a bunch of books, especially the bestseller, The Boy Behind the Gate. And so glad to have you here, Larry.
Well, thank you for that introduction. We should just stop right there.
Yeah, done. Mic drop.
Yeah.
So we haven't talked since October 2012 when we last saw each other at TEDx. I mean, we were obviously seeing each other here and there on social media, but man, tell us what's up. What have you been up to?
Oh, great. What's happened in the last 10 years?
Yeah, just a decade between friends.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I did get into the speaking circuit and started speaking a fair amount about living my passion and making my dream come true, which was to sail around the world. I had dreamed of that since I was 13 years old. And that was when I learned to sail. And I kept that dream alive for all that time, for 33 years. And then I left. I had sold my company. I left and sailed around the world. It took 6 years to do.
Wow.
Spent, how much does it cost to sail around the world? Everything you have.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So but I got my book published, and I got on the speaking circuit. Book started doing well. I was having a good time, and then I started dabbling into coaching because I had a few friends who were CEOs, as I was a CEO. And one day, one of them called me up and said, "Hey, Larry, can I ask you some advice about something?" I said, "Sure." So I went over to his office, and he says, we just started talking. I said, "Did you want to ask me something about your company?" And he goes, "Oh, no. I'm good running the company. I want to know, how did you do this retirement thing? How did you let go of your identity as a CEO to just drop everything and go sailing around the world? How'd you do that? I mean, I can't picture how to do that." And then he told someone else, and they told somebody else, and I now had 3 CEOs who were asking me the same questions.
Wow.
None of them wanted to know anything about running their business. And usually, as in coaching with high-level executives, what I discovered is they really don't want to know about how to run the numbers or anything. They want to know about personalities and motivation, and also personally, what are they going to do when they retire, and how can they do that? The higher up on the echelon someone is, the more difficult it is for them to let go of their identity of who they are. One day your name is on the door, and the next day you call and they go, "Who's this?"
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So so I started dabbling into coaching, and I realized that this was a real thing, that this was a real issue for a lot of people. So I took a year, and that was in 2014, I think.
Okay.
And I spent an entire year reverse engineering exactly how I retired, and how I let go, and the steps that I took that were involved, and the actions that I took to let go of my identity, and then to go sail away. And I created this online video course called Sail into Retirement.
Okay.
And what it does, it takes someone who's like, "Gee, what am I going to do with the rest of my life?" and takes them all the way through to, "Here's your plan." And it's helped a lot of people. And that's how I sparked that. And now retirement coaching, or non-financial retirement coaching, has become like a real deal. It's a big thing. There's an association and everything.
So when you say non-financial retirement coaching, this is like the money thing, you can go hire a financial advisor to handle, but the time and where you want to spend your energy, that's where people have this like gap, right? This huge chasm, exactly. This void, and
that's right.
And their sense of identity, to your point, or their sense of purpose is gone, and so a lot of them say, "Well, I'm not stuck in retire," or when they do retire, they're bored, and then they just kind of like fade off.
You're exactly right. It's what happens, entrepreneurs are in a sense a little bit better off because they're always used to kind of creating their own thing. But someone who was working for a company, or a CEO or president, or in upper management, or attorneys, retired military people, retired political figures, they're all kind of stuck. Like, well, what do I do now? When you wake up in the morning, you think, like, if I ask people, "What are you going to do when you retire?" their answer is almost always the same. It's, "I'm going to sleep late, travel, and golf," or insert appropriate sport there, whatever. And I go, "Yeah, then what?"
Right.
Yeah.
And then what do they say?
Well, some of them say, "I don't need anything more than golf." But I say, "Well, yes, you will." And they usually come back to me in about a year of just trying things. And I help guide them through coaching, or they go through my course, or actually most of my high-level executives choose to have personal coaching, and then I take them through the course. I handhold them through. because it's the same steps, whether I teach it or whether it's in the course.
So sorry. I didn't
No, that's it.
So what is like, is a big part of this purpose to helping them define their purpose, and then kind of like, what's the big aha moment that you work from, I guess?
Yeah, the aha moment, there's probably a few, but one of the big ones and the biggest concern is letting go of their identity. I was the top attorney at this particular firm,
Mm-hmm.
and now I am not. I'm not. What am I? Who am I? And so the trick is to help them find their new identity. And so, and it may or may not be, like, say, for an attorney, okay, it may be pro bono work, it may be volunteer, it may be teaching. There's a lot of things that would include their previous profession.
Right.
But also, what about their new desires and their hidden desires, that they always wanted to be an artist, or they always wanted to do something else? This is their chance. What's happening is that retirees, we're living longer than our previous generation.
Right.
We're living 10 to 20 years longer than our parents. That's a long time to sit around and watch I Love Lucy reruns.
Yeah, I mean, they're okay at first, but but yeah, no. And the other part of it is, it's not like this unhealthy way of living. I think a lot of it's people eat healthier, they drink less, they're not smoking. So I mean, I think of my grandparents. I mean, my grandmother died at 62, I think. My dad died at 60, and I remember. So they must have been in their 50s when I was like a little kid. And when I think back at it, I'm like, they like most of my friends are in their 50s and 60s, and they don't look the way my grandparents looked.
Right. We are lasting a lot longer, and that also presents a money issue. But I don't address that because there are so many financial counselors who are addressing retirement. And I'll just say, you've got to deal with someone who's a real professional in that department. I'll spend your money. I'll help you to how to spend it. And if you can't afford the lifestyle that you've selected or want, then maybe we have to readjust.
Right.
But I don't get involved in investments and things like that. In fact, one of the things the last speech I gave before the COVID was to a ballroom filled with investment advisors for IWI. And these people, I was teaching them how to help their clients, because a client goes to them and says, gee, you're investing my money, but do you think I should move? Or
right.
Should I get a divorce? Or what should I do? And so I'm trying to help them as well. So
let me ask you a question. So rewinding back, because obviously you set down this, and I think the audience, one of the reasons I really wanted to have you on the show was just to show like kind of where you've ended up, because I think you took this really dramatic turn in your life, many years ago, that most people would never, ever consider doing. They would say that's impossible, or
crazy.
We all have these dreams, but like doing those dreams, like having a dream and doing a dream are two different things. Right. And so the reason I say that is, when I met you in 2012, you had just gotten back from sailing around the world. Is that correct? So 2006, 5, is that when you
got back in 2007?
Oh, pardon me. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Actually in August, so it was just the anniversary. Yeah.
So 2007 is when you got back.
Took me 3 years to write my book.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you left in around 2000-ish then.
2001, just after 9/11.
Wow. Okay. So you left San Francisco right when I moved to San Francisco. I moved there at September 3rd, 2000. And
yeah, we left just after in December.
Wow. Okay. So you had been an entrepreneur and CEO. Is that how, or were you a hired gun CEO?
No, I was an entrepreneur. I mean, I had started our company, which was an incentive travel and event management company. And we were handling a lot of the Silicon Valley companies. We were very high profile. Mm-hmm. We were like the darling of the industry. We were the elite top level. So when companies would burn through their current the company they had been using, and they wanted something really unique and different for their top salespeople, they would call us.
Got it. So you were doing the sales trips,
Yeah.
the president's clubs, and all that type of stuff.
Right.
Perfect. Right. Okay. I've done a bunch of those things with my people, and so it
was a great industry. It's almost over, but
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, it's pretty fun. Yeah. Right now, I doubt if that industry is doing very well. Anyone in the travel industries, this has not been a great year.
Yeah.
And so oh, by the way, E.G. Sebastian says happy anniversary to you.
Oh, E.G. Sebastian. I have to do a shout out to E.G. E.G., I'm a coach. Everybody needs a coach. Even coaches need a coach.
Right.
E.G. Sebastian is my coach.
Did he coach you before or after your trip?
After.
Okay, cool.
And for the last few years, he has been just magnificent. He's just incredible. He's kept me on target and kept me going and brings me up when I'm down, and he's great. So thanks, EG.
That's great. Yeah, we had earlier today, we had these guys, the 3 CEOs, and one of them runs a coaching business on, and we were talking about that, about how, the importance of getting a coach and ways to start, and anyone can find a coach. It's not as hard as you think. I mean, there's a guy who did a TED Talk about, look, you could get coaching just by reading books from, people that have done amazing things and learning from them. There's a library and it's free. And if you can go and find a real person, all the more power to you. But
right, the coach keeps you accountable too.
Right. Yeah. That's I think the biggest thing with coaching is it's a mirror, more than anything, and the accountability is there. Like it's kind of like this. I don't know if I probably look differently than when you last remember me. I lost a lot of weight. I don't know if you
hadn't I mentioned that yet? I'm sorry.
No. I lost like a lot of weight. I probably weighed 100 pounds less than when I saw you last. And so, and I weighed a lot more than that at one point. But the reason I brought that up is that this one time I did this weight loss thing, and it was ran by Stanford Medical, and every Friday I had to go weigh in. Right? Like just knowing I had to do that. This is a perfect example of accountability. Just knowing it, like I just changed my behavior. Like that accountability around knowing I had to go check in with somebody and do something. It was 10 minutes. Like I lost a bunch of weight, right? And so I do think and people, the way I look at it is like, think about when you're in high school or junior high school or college, if you played sports or even growing up. Like, listen, like no kid shows up on the field, a bunch of kids and just start like running laps and sprinting. Like you need someone there like cracking the whip and blowing the whistle,
That's right. And why would we think that we don't need that as we continue on in life?
Oh yeah, no. And that was what we were talking about on the show earlier today. Is like, you look at the most successful people in the world. I mean, these are people that like, they should be able to tell anyone like what's what. They all have coaches.
They all have coaches.
Every one of them. And then the excuse could be, well, they're rich and I'm not. They can afford it. It's like, look, they have more. You're right. They do have more resources, but they've been getting coached the whole way up, since when they had nothing, whether there was free mentors or whether they were paying for it. These are guys that were being coached. And there's a book I love, The $1 Trillion Coach. You read that book?
No, I haven't.
It's a cool book. It's about this guy who basically coached all the top executives at Apple and Steve Jobs and all these different guys. And he came from like college football and didn't get started in the executive world till his 40s. And then he became an executive and then just became this like renowned coach. And anyway, it's a great book and it's a Bay Area story. So $1 Trillion Coach, highly recommend it. I do want to go here though. So 2001, you're running the business. Prior to that, was it always like, man, one day I'm going to sell the business. And then when I sell the business, I'm going to sail around the world. Was that literally like a thing you'd always thought of?
The sail around the world part was. So all I had in my head was the dream, the passion that I wanted to sail around the world. I didn't know it would involve selling a company or anything like that. I knew that, I had been saving along the way. And when we sold our company, we weren't worth that much. What they really wanted to buy was our client connections, so I didn't really I got just enough to tease me into thinking that I could afford this trip, which turns out that I didn't have enough. and had to sell my half of a house halfway through the trip to pay for the rest of it. But it at least let me, I saw it as an opening and as like an opening of a window, and I could go through there right then and take the chance, or the window was going to close and I'd get back into doing, something else. So we were offered, to buy our company in 1998, and we sold, and then they kept me on for 3 more years. And right after 3 years, I bought the boat and sailed. I spent 6 or 8 months rebuilding the boat and getting ready, but then sailed away. So I didn't realize it was going to involve that, selling the company. I didn't know exactly how it was going to happen.
Right.
And that is the way dreams work. You have the big dream, and then you can build the steps to get there. But you've got to have that dream. You've got to have that passion. But I'm going to continue on. This is what happened, if that's all right.
Yeah, please.
So I sailed around the world for 6 years, and I left everything. I left my my career, my income, my security, my home, my identity, everything, and I just sailed away. It was difficult, but what happens after the 6 years, I get home and I spend the next 3 years kind of burying myself in writing my book. And, I started from 2,000 pages of notes and journals and videos and radio logs and all that. And then I realized that I was lost.
Wow.
And that was a big, big thing that I had not expected at all. I was lost. My dream had been achieved. I had achieved the greatest thing that I've ever thought possible. It was the Everest of sailing. And now what? Now what was my dream? What was going to drive me?
Right.
That was a big issue.
Wow, that's interesting. So you just reminded me of 2 things. So first of all, we had a guy yesterday that was on that swam the English Channel, and that's the Everest of swimming.
Yeah. Why? Did his boat sink?
No. He trained for it. He did an ice swim down in like Antarctica too. He's a buddy.
Oh, wow.
He's a buddy of mine. But yeah, he attempted to swim across the English Channel in December, and which is like no one's ever accomplished that ever. And he ended up like he started having hypothermia and had to stop. Oh. Who knew?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, Sam, if you're listening, you're a fucking maniac. And so, but yeah, like you accomplished the Everest of sailing, which is, and so when you did that, let me ask a question. Was it like you had a bunch of destinations in mind, order of countries, and you went there and hung out? Like how did that, like, what is sailing around the world for 6 years? What do you do for 6 years when you do that? Just go hang out? Do you work a little bit? I don't even know what that looks like.
Well, I tell you what, it doesn't look like. It doesn't look like the brochure. Because the brochure is that you're lying on the beach all day and you're on vacation.
Yeah, that's what I had in my head.
It's nothing like that. It is every day you're afraid. Every day you're seeing something new, and you're being scared by something new. Every day something breaks on the boat, and every day is a challenge. And what you do is, we sailed south to Mexico and then across the Pacific, and we spent the first season 6 months going across the Pacific Islands. Well, then what happens is hurricane season starts in the island. So you have to get out of hurricane zone. So you sail south to New Zealand.
Got it.
And then you spend we spent actually 8 months in New Zealand. And then you can go back up into the Pacific for the sailing season. And then when the hurricane season comes again, you go back down and you went to Australia and spend another 9 months or 8 months there, I think. And then you can continue on, but you're always avoiding and chasing the weather. So there's at least a 6 month period when you do not want to be in the sailing zone, which is, kind of mid tropics. And so that's one thing that guides you. And then there are certain things that guide you that you want to, you've always, by going across the South Pacific, of course, that it scratches most people's itch, because that's what you dream of, is Bora Bora and the South Pacific and everything. And that was great. The sailing really starts to get hard after Australia, when you're going through Indonesia and Southeast Asia and the Malacca Straits, and then up to Thailand. And then when we were in Thailand, the tsunami hit. And then,
wow, that was in 04, right?
Yeah, and that's a whole that's an incredible story. But I'll keep, if we have time, I'll come back to it. But we went, and then across the Indian Ocean, and then you have a choice: either you go around the south tip of Africa to avoid pirates, or you go up through the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea, and you face the pirates. And if you want to get to the Med and go to Israel and Turkey and Spain and Italy and France, well, you've got to go up through the Pirate Alley. So that was another whole thing, going through Pirate Alley and dodging pirates up through there, and then going up the Red Sea. And then we spent, we were on our way, we went to Israel. We were going to Israel just for a week, we thought, just to get fuel and food, and because we really wanted to get to Turkey, where it's great sailing in Turkey. And we loved Israel so much, we stayed for 3 months.
Nice.
And then we went to Turkey, and we stayed in Turkey for a year.
Oh my
and
God.
While we went to Europe for a few months to travel, and then came home and left the boat in Turkey and then went back. So, it's not 6 years of solid sailing.
Right. No, that makes
it's
more
experiencing the cultures. And I saw no point, and I still see no point in hurrying around the world and racing to see who can do it the fastest and all that. I mean, if that's what those people like, that's okay. But I wanted to see the people and feel the cultures and just soak it up like a sponge.
Oh my gosh. So you just gave me, look, I've never sailed around the world on a sailboat, but I have been on a ship around the world. I don't know if you know that about me.
No.
So when I was 20 years old, I did this program called Semester at Sea.
Oh, I know it.
I did it. Yeah. I was 20 years old, and I was 18 years old actually. And I had a friend, he was in my fraternity, and he was gone. And everyone, they said, oh, this guy, Brett Christensen, he's gone for the semester. He's on a boat around the world. And I was 18. I was like, and I was a pledge in the fraternity, which basically means I was their slave. And I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Right? And so then he came back in winter semester, and he had just gone around the world. And when you're 20 years old and you go around the world, that's like on a boat, and it's a big boat, but it's still an amazing experience, right? Like that, it really is. I mean, my life changed when I did it. And so I sat down with him and I was like, I want to know everything about your trip. and he told me, and it was really expensive. And it was like, I want to say it was like $20,000. And this is in 1998 when I did it. So, which is a lot of money. That's a lot of money now.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way my parents are going to pay for this. And so, and my parents were like upper middle class, but they were like the type of parents that were like, that's our money. Like you, I worked 3 jobs, and like I barely got anything from my parents. So I wrote this really heartfelt letter to them saying, look, I'm never going to qualify for financial aid, but if you don't help, but my parents' money is their money, and they will not help me. Anyway, they gave me financial aid, which was cool because I really wouldn't have been able to do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, like I paid my way through college, my last year of college. Like that's, even though I'm like legitimately worked 3 jobs my entire college career. And so I wasn't bullshitting them. I was being real. So I went up to Vancouver on like September of 2000, and we did Vancouver, Japan. So across the Pacific, it's a cruise ship, right? There's 1,000 people on it, 600 college students, which is insane.
Yeah.
Japan, Kobe, Japan, Hong Kong. Then we flew to mainland China. Then we went to Penang, Malaysia. Went to Ho Chi Minh City, and then flew up to Hanoi and did Madras, Chennai, India. Then we went up through the Suez Canal and went to Israel.
Yeah.
And so I just want to ask you that was one of the coolest things I've ever done, because they have all these oil refineries shooting flames up, and you're going up this narrow canal, you see flames shooting at nighttime.
Yes.
Up the canal.
Totally. We totally saw that. We called them the dragons.
Oh,
and they were so scary. Yeah. The Red Sea is, I know why Moses walked across, is because it's too rough to sail.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, that's where we had the worst weather of the entire trip, was in the Red Sea.
Oh my gosh.
We had 60 knot winds that blew steady for 24 hours and had built the seas up to 30 feet.
Wow.
And so it's, it was crazy. We called it the Hell Sea.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was on a ship, so I didn't have that experience, but I was on the open water the whole time, which was like there's, and anyway, I'll finish telling you my trip. I went to Turkey, Italy, Morocco, back to Miami, and it was 100 days, and 55 of those days were on land and 45 were on the ocean. And I could close, I swear to God, Larry, I've done that trip. I'm on my 5th trip, by the way, because I have dreams that I'm going back. And so have you, do you have dreams that you're back at sea? Does that happen to you ever?
Well, if the question is, would you do it again? Then the answer is, if I hadn't done it.
Oh, okay.
But having done it does not make me want to do it again.
Got it.
And it pretty much scratched my itch for travel, and for pretty much for sailing. Here in San Francisco, we say it's one of the best places in the world to sail. Well, I don't know. After spending 6 years of sailing in warm tropic trade winds, I'm going to have to argue with that, So
I'd say you have more of a, look, if I'm going to believe anybody on this, it's going to be you. Now, I do want to say one thing though, and I think you just made up a great point, which is, if you ask anybody that likes sailing, hey, if you go sail around the world for 6 years and see and live in all these amazing countries and see all these amazing things, and financially, I make sure I can make it happen for you. No promises when you get back, but there's no halfway you're there and it breaks, right? Like financially, it's taken care of. Probably every sailor would be like, yes, where can I do that, right?
I would think so, yeah.
Yet nobody really, probably hardly anybody ever does it.
They according to the experts, about 60 people a year worldwide complete the circumnavigation, which is about 1/5 or 6th or 7th of the number of people who climb Mount Everest. And that was before the virus.
Wow.
So it's a very, very small club.
Yeah, that is a really small club. So I understand, going back to what you said, which is you got back, you scratched the itch, you did this thing that was like this lifelong dream, but then you're still alive. It's not like you're dying, go to heaven. It's like you're still living, but you've done this thing. And so is it that you just didn't have anything to look forward to? What was it that made you kind of feel lost?
Well, yeah. And by the way, I think one of the things that when I left, when we decided to continue on around the world, which was in Australia, that's when I decided that we're going to keep going. I know this sounds weird, but I honestly was not sure that, I really didn't think I'd make it back.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
There's 1,000 ways to die out there.
Oh, wow. So you're like,
it is so dangerous that, there's so many things that can go wrong, that do go wrong, that did go wrong. There's so many in my book. There's probably at least three stories of times I was this close to dying.
Really?
It's just, so I thought, well, the chances are probably I'm not going to make it back anyway. I don't really need a plan for when I get back. Well, sure enough, I lived.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah.
I thought I was going out with my boat at sea.
Right. So about halfway through the trip, I did decide that I would write a book, and that I liked speaking, and that I wanted to be a speaker. And so that gave me when I got home, something to do. But after writing the book, that was 3 years. So now it's 2010, and I'm getting ready to launch the book, and I'm doing the TED Talk and that. And then there's still something missing. It's like, where's this driving passion, this core that just drives you through all the obstacles that you have? And I didn't have it. And I did, but I finally found it, which was, now for me, I finally figured out that while my dream was admirable, the dream was about me. And it was about satisfying my dream and my goal. And I get the most satisfaction now, and didn't realize it then, by helping other people make their dreams come true.
Interesting.
And that is my driving force now. And I absolutely love it. It's like I get these chills when I have a breakthrough with a client, on the phone even or something, and they get it. And I'm like, oh, I get that same, that quelling feeling, of I'm not sure it's the same feeling I had when we sailed back underneath the Golden Gate Bridge. Right. That was probably the most amazing thing that I've ever experienced in my life, but it's a really, really good feeling. And that keeps me going daily.
Yeah. I don't want to digress back to the boat, but somebody,
it's fine.
Somebody,
I always do.
Yeah. Yeah. So somebody asked a question. So I want to respect the question. And then I want to come back to where you're at right now with the coaching and what the question I'm going to ask, and we'll come back to it, is what is one of the better dreams that you've helped make come true in the new Larry world that you're in? But before we go there, the question, E.G. Sebastian said, tell us about the storms and the giant waves. So just tell us one cool giant wave / storm story. It doesn't have to be long.
So when we were in the Red Sea, we were making our way up. It's 1,200 miles, beating your way north against a north wind. And the north wind funnels down the narrow Red Sea. And the Red Sea is not only narrow, but it's shallow comparatively. And we happened to be caught one day with a storm that came in 24 hours early. The Egyptian weather forecasting is not the best in the world. And so basically you'd have to do your own forecasts, and you would take the barometric pressure of where you are, the barometric pressure of where Cairo is, and then subtract the difference and the time of how long it's taking for the one pressure to go from Cairo down to where you're at. It's complicated. Everybody would do it over the radio together. And we figured that this storm was coming in, let's say tomorrow. Well, we were motoring away from this reef where we had gone scuba diving, and we were motoring north, and the winds just started picking up fast. It goes 20 knots. And 2 minutes later, it's 25, 30. Within a half an hour, it was blowing 45, which is a gale. And within another couple hours, it was blowing 60 knots, which is, and we were right, coincidentally, in the exact most shallow spot of the Red Sea, which was, 600 feet or something like that. But the seas built up to 30 feet. And not only were they high, they've been the biggest seas I've ever seen. And that's a 3-story building, if you just picture that, 30 feet. Yeah. So, but they were coming incredibly fast. So waves like out in the Pacific here off the Golden Gate, generally speaking, swells run about, say, 10 seconds apart, 15 seconds apart. These were coming 3 seconds apart.
Wow.
And so I remember counting, just going 1001, 1002, 1003, and bam, we'd be hit by another one. And they were so big, the boat would just fly up off the top of the waves and then just slam down into the trough and just shake, and like a cannon. It was it's like, well, were you scared? No, I wasn't scared. I was terrified. You'd have to be scared. You'd have to be nuts not to be scared in those conditions. And it was, we were about 100 miles offshore, I think, at the time, or 70 miles offshore. And so, we were working our way towards this anchorage that you look at on the chart, and you see these they're called marsas. It's like a little inlet in the side in the land. And you're looking at that and the chart says it's, say 9 feet deep going over the entrance into this inlet. And then you have to subtract the current tide and the current level of the tide and the rate that it's going out to calculate exactly how many feet you think it's going to be underneath the keel when you go over this sandbar. Because if you are going over to the sandbar into this Marsa, and you miscalculate, and you just going to run into a sandbar in the middle of the Red Sea where there's nobody or nothing. There's no Saudi Arabian or Egyptian Coast Guard, you know, you can call for help. And so it's like, I remember being down below and doing the math, and then, you know, saying to my partner, Ken, saying, you know, check my numbers. I can't, you know, the salt and that was soaking, and I can't see if I've done them right, you know, and checked them again and again. And then we just had to take the risk. And we came flying into this Marsa doing maybe 10 knots, just so fast in 5-6 foot seas. And the entrance was about 50 yards wide.
Wow.
And I remember just aiming for it and aiming high, knowing we were going to be blown down a little bit, and just going for it. And then boom, and we were in flat, calm water.
Oh my gosh.
And it's not just scary because like a roller coaster is scary, but you're also piloting your home, right? I mean, everything you have is on this boat. And I was afraid for myself and for the boat, but really most of all for my crew at the time, you know, Ken and CJ, who were on board. And, you know, it's like, I had gotten us into this situation. I was the leader. I was the captain. I needed to get us out of that thing alive. And I was responsible for it. And it was a big weight, but you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
Yeah, shit, I guess.
Are you happy, EG?
So, thanks, EG. You just scared the shit out of me. So yeah, that sounds intense. So you come back, and obviously, I mean, how do you normalize from that type of life? I mean, that must be really hard to normalize from. So you found this new thing, and I guess to your point, you really, I guess the question is, how do you normalize from that life? I don't think you can.
You can't. To be honest, it took me a really long time to kind of feel like I was back. But, you know, when I left, I was a high flying executive driving in an Audi and flying first class. And you know, it's like, oh, I was important, or at least I thought I was, you know, and that. But more than that, everything changed for me on the trip. My priorities changed about everything, about life, about what's important, about, you know, just my daily mindfulness. And so I never, after the trip, have really felt like I have assimilated back. And I don't know that I ever will, but that's okay. I like the new me, and I like the new me better. So, you know, and I don't really want to go back to sea because, well, although if I had the boat now, I might. It might be virus free out there.
I was going to say that's rocky waters here in the States nowadays.
Yeah. But yeah, I felt a long time like a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. I mean, I'm sure. Like, how do you not? And so I have a question, and I want to come back to the new gig. And so selfishly, I just wrote my book. I know that I'll be a published author technically on September 15th. I have a copy of it.
There you are.
And so far, I recommend it.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, and I didn't know you were an entrepreneur, so now I think you'll appreciate it more. It's written for leaders and entrepreneurs and CEOs, but I think anyone can get value from it, because it's how do you build a core value driven organization, and there's many organizations like families and friends and whatnot,
or yourself.
Yeah,
I live by core values, my own core values.
Well, so that's actually where I was going with this, is that, you know, my belief is that core values can really guide the way. And so what if you came back and you felt out of sorts, and then you know, which values do you think you were rubbing up against? Because I feel like when we're out of alignment with our core values is when we start to feel uncomfortable. So I guess, do you have an answer for that, as far as what values were alive and well that suddenly didn't feel alive and well when you got back?
I would say that I was spending too much time about me. I think is the difference between, say, before trip and after trip. But also as we all are, influenced by others, wanting to fit in, wanting to, make it, in the world and that. And just kind of focus maybe on the wrong things. And that is what I think I let go of and changed. Like I have what you call them core values. I call them my anchors, and they're printed on a thing in a frame right in the bathroom. And that's
what do they say on them?
One of them says, actually I wrote them down. I mean, I copied it. I can direct my life by the actions I take.
Okay.
I choose where to set the anchor. And if I don't like where I'm anchored, I should, and I will move.
Okay.
That's one that was very important, because it's like, no, you do have this freedom that you learned about when sailing. If we didn't like our anchors, we just move. Well, why can't I do that now too? And moving doesn't necessarily moving house, just moving in any way in your life. That I establish my own values and morals. And that's very important to me. Doesn't matter what someone else's are. These are mine.
Yes.
That I have a backup plan. This is something I learned from sailing. That I'm always trying to refine my goals and my visions to be manageable, but also to make me stretch.
Okay.
And I'm always learning. I'm always striving to learn and to improve myself and my talents. And that's something that I learned was, at sea, there's no way you know everything about how to get a boat around the world. So you become a student for life. And then I learned a couple other things which are on there, which is that I appreciate those around me, and I tell them. And I enjoy and I mark the worth of every moment and every day. And because that happened at sea. Like once I was sitting on the bow, and we're sailing out, leaving Thailand, headed out across the Indian Ocean. And I'm sitting there just going, okay, wait a minute, pinch myself. I am on my own boat, and we're about to cross the Indian Ocean. Oh my God, take note of this. Mark this moment, because you don't get to do this probably again. And this is pretty special. Yeah. And there were so many moments like that I found myself having to just kind of mark them. And there are moments like that in all of our lives every day. Living with passion, of course, is something that I have always lived by. And I think one of the bigger ones is fill my life with more love and less hate, more giving and less taking. And that was also learned on the trip. So those are my anchors that I kind of live by. In the company, we had our own. We had our core values. We had core values that we were going to design and deliver trips that no matter how wealthy someone was or how willing they were to spend their wealth, that they wouldn't be able to create a trip like we created for them.
Very cool. That
we would anticipate the customer's needs and be proactive in customer service, so they never had to call us, and that we would always be honest.
Nice.
Yeah. And I think, and to your point in your book, I think our clients knew our core values too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. It's a big deal in business and in life. I mean, I think if you understand someone's, look, we all figure them out sooner or later. It's just a question of, you can explicit, and my position is, at least in business, there's a pretty big incentive to be explicit about it. And in your personal life, there's a pretty big incentive to be explicit about it, because then at least everyone knows what they're dealing with, and you know what you're dealing with.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit too easy for someone to say, we want to be a good company.
Yeah. What the hell is that?
Good things. Or I want to be a good person.
As long as I get what I want, you don't get what you want.
But
what's good for me is good.
Yeah. Define what is a good person.
Right.
And define what it means to help others in that. So, yeah.
That's really cool. I love all that stuff. It was funny when you were just talking right now. I had this moment. I think I've done like 65 shows in the past 6 weeks.
Wow.
I've done a lot, but and I say this on every show almost, but I'm going to say it again, and you guys know what I'm about to say. That I do this selfishly for myself, and that it was funny. You're saying, you got to have these like these moments that you just savor the moment, and I was thinking while you're saying it, I was like, man, how many people get to sit and talk to a person that they met 8-9 years ago who sailed around the world and spend an hour learning from them all the lessons they learned about sailing around the world. By the way, this week I spoke to a couple who are friends of mine that rode their bikes from Alaska to the Tierra del Fuego over 20 months. And yesterday I spoke to my buddy that swam across the English Channel. I said, by the way, it's only Thursday and that's what I've done. Right?
Yeah,
so
that's fantastic.
That's pretty cool, right? And I was like, that's something where it's like it's kind of insane to even do that in 1 week and to share those moments with somebody and then to get to share those moments with anyone watching. And I thought, these are moments that people got to just kind of kick back and smell the roses and be like, this is cool to get to have this conversation. Yeah. So I'm pretty grateful to have this with you. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the things I wanted to mention was that, sometimes when, say at a cocktail party or something, I don't really necessarily bring it up, but someone will say, maybe the subject will come up, oh, do you sail? And I'll say, yes, I sail.
A little here and there.
Well, it's like, I don't want to, but I'm not trying to pat myself on the back or anything. I just happen to have done this. And, then maybe they'll find out that I've sailed around the world. And what I've discovered is that it's hard for people to relate to this. So the most common response from someone is, my cousin has a boat. We went fishing once. Or something like that. And they have a hard time relating to, well, there must have been some extenuating circumstances that allowed you to go do this, or something. And, I was like, well, no, I mean, hard work, and perspiration and good planning and maybe all those things put together. But then I really, and when I'm speaking to an audience or coaching someone, I really try to make sure that they understand that it doesn't matter that I sailed around the world. Their own goals and dreams are just as important to them as mine was to me.
Right.
And that and that they have to put their faith in that, their dreams and their goals and what they want to achieve and accomplish. And it's irrelevant that I sailed around the world. That's simply an example that, yes, anybody can do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
So,
well, and to your point that the relatable topic there there's many, like, have you ever went and watched the sunset at the beach? I mean, you just got to have a sunset on a beach for 6 years called like the edge of your boat. Right. I mean,
yeah.
that's what I thought about when you started talking about it. I'm like, oh man, the coolest thing about being on the ocean is, there's many cool things. I mean, the smell of the air, you get that on land too, but the sunsets, the sunrises, they're just I close my eyes right now. I can go back to that. But to your point, the relatable thing is that you did something that you wanted to do that was important to you. And I think that's the lesson, right? That's the lesson.
It can be done. I mean, it is one of the most insurmountable goals I think that anybody can have is to sail a boat around the world. Most people, if they leave the West Coast of the United States and they're heading out, they end up stopping in New Zealand and that's it. Right. That's as far as they go, or maybe Australia. But and that because it starts to get really, really difficult from then on with reefs and languages and pirates and lions and tigers and bears and
but for real.
Yeah.
So I know we're getting towards the end of the show here. So two things.
Just getting going.
I know. I got you going. We got about 5 minutes. So if you guys have any other questions, Larry's here to answer your questions about living the dream, right? Literally. Yeah. My question for you though is, now that you've changed into this certified coach that's helping people make their dreams become a reality, what are some of the more cooler dreams that you've helped actualize for people as a coach?
Yeah. Well, I can't give you any specifics about people because I keep my coaching 100%
Gotcha.
confidential.
Yeah,
but I can say that for most of my clients, it is not one big thing. It's not something that, gee, I always wanted to do this one thing. It is more a matter of helping them create a balanced life where they are getting satisfaction, fulfillment, and purpose from a lot of different areas of life. So from their personal relationships, from their volunteer work or teaching work, but basically replacing what their career was. And while I encourage people to find out what their passion is, that, what's that one passion that just drives you? Once you have that, I then caution you, don't just focus on that one thing, because it makes for an uninteresting person. And it makes for, you will feel the gap in other aspects of your life. So if you're just focused on going to train to climb Mount Everest, and that's all you can think about, it's all you're doing, have you dropped your friends? Have you dropped your family? What about your health? And those things. And so I have pretty much helped people to create this new life that doesn't have their career in it.
That's amazing. And I mean, I think most people maybe don't even understand that, but imagine if you woke up tomorrow and you didn't have the thing that you've been doing for the last 20 years. Yeah, at first you might go and have fun and you might take a trip here and there. Right. But it's like anything, like, dude, you're traveling around the world for 6 years. At some point, you're probably like, all right, I'm done. I've been doing this long enough, and too much of anything, people get tired of it.
After about 5 years,
yeah,
it's
a long time, half a decade. Like, hey, what are you quitting? I'm quitting sailing around the world because I'm done with it. Right? Like that's essentially like people are like, quit what? Yeah. I got too tired of it.
Well, and also, what happened is it turns out that if you sail west and you keep going, you do end up back where you started. And
damn it's you, over. Globe. Damn you.
Yeah. And it is over. And so you get back and it's like, okay, well, want to go again?
Yeah, right.
No.
Right. How did you end up? Did you go down south through South America? Did you a Panama Canal?
No, through the Panama Canal.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We went through the 3 canals of the world: the Panama, the Suez, and does anybody know what the other one is?
Oh yeah, I'm like, shoot, I don't know.
It's the Corinth Canal.
Oh, I didn't know. Yeah, I've never heard of that one. Where's that?
It cuts off the Peloponnese Peninsula of Greece.
Oh, cool.
So you don't have to sail all the way around Greece to get across to the Adriatic.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so let me ask you a question, because if you could get into a time machine and give yourself advice prior to sailing around the world to maybe have prepared yourself better for your, return home, so you wouldn't have had the dark times, what advice would you have given yourself?
I would have, really good question. I think that I would have built a bigger landing cushion.
Like financially speaking?
Financially speaking, yeah. And as we approached coming, as approach was coming home, I thought, well, I've got my boat. I'll live on the boat. It's okay. I had a slip in the marina here in Emeryville, and I thought, well, I'll live on the boat. Well, after 6 years of living on the boat with sailing around the world, you sail into the marina and you're looking up at the condos and you're going, gee, I bet you they have ice makers in their refrigerator. I bet you their closets are bigger than this.
Oh, it's amazing, man.
So, maybe a bigger landing cushion. And for going on the trip, I would have given myself the advice of don't expect to know everything, and be prepared to learn, and everything can be fixed.
Interesting.
Yeah. All those points are in the book. Shall I hold up the copy, the book cover?
Yeah. Show the book, man. The book's amazing. And
yeah, there it is. The boy behind the gate.
It's plug time, Larry. So where can people find you, the book, all the things you're working on? The plug away, plug.
All right, cool. It's easy. LarryJacobson.com.
Okay.
And then if you click on author, you see that book, and you see the children's version, which is Let's Go.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's for 8 to 12-year-olds. It's a middle reader. It's really fun.
Nice.
And then there's also my book about entrepreneurship, navigating entrepreneurship, which is also in it's on Udemy as a video course.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. But LarryJacobson.com, go to author, and it has all the links to everything, including has on the speaker link my TED Talk that I did with you.
Very cool. That was an amazing day. Wait, did you say you have a new book coming out now too, or is that the one you just showed us?
I am working on a new book. I'm working on a book. How'd you know that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm working on a book on wisdom. With all of my, I have a lot of wisdom sayings that seem to have been generated out of this trip. And I've discovered that they not only applied to the sailing trip, but they applied to life, they applied to business. And I'm putting them all into one book. It's going to be simple. It's not going to be long, but it's going to be wisdom, basically, for the rest of us. Wisdom that we can live by.
Very cool.
I'm toying with titles, as you can tell.
When could people maybe find that book? When do you think it'll come out?
Yes.
Oh, about then. Okay. So, well, you guys, I know a good way for you guys to find out when his new books come out by going to his website, signing up, getting, like a newsletter or just email.
Yes. You can sign up for my blog. You can, and there's good articles on my blog page there. You can also, there's lots of free resources. There's the 7 keys to fearless leadership.
Okay.
That I've written. That's an ebook. There's the top 5 retirement planning secrets. There's the passion quiz. So if you don't know what your passion really is, there's a passion quiz. Cool. There's a retirement wheel about how to balance your life. These are all free. Just put in your email, and I do not sell your email address to anybody because I've never had a good offer.
Oh man. Well, what a treat, Mr. Larry Jacobson. Thank you so much.
This has been great. It's really fun.
What a really cool way to reconnect. Guys, what a day, man. We had the 3 CEOs. We had Fran Bitterman Gross, and we ended with Mr. Larry Jacobson. And I think we got a couple more for you guys tomorrow to wrap up the week. So come follow me at The Real Darius M on Facebook. You could go like the page, follow the page, and that's where we show these shows live. Subscribe at our YouTube channel at The Real Darius. Just type in The Real Darius in YouTube, and it'll come up under the Greatness Machine. And if you subscribe, it points to you and lets you know when we're live, and it sends the videos afterwards. And last but not least, go to therealdarius.com, subscribe there, and I promise I won't sell your information unless Larry's buying it. That said, guys, we'll see you.